Welcome to the collective stream of desire and Kundalini. It's no wonder they preferred to televise Elvis Presley above the waist. This is all he's got, basically. This stream here has the potential to drive you the most crazy if you don't understand it, because it's here in the 41 where we mistake love for sex. Just because you desire the king or James Bond, played by Pierce Brosnan, or Lana Rhoades, the most desirable and successful porn star of her time. Or if you found Steve Jobs' black turtleneck jumpers excited you. Just because you desire someone doesn't mean they love you or the other way around. And it's so often that we get confused between these two, and it's how our genes get us, because the genetic imperative really doesn't care about whether we get on well as people with our partner. It's about a variety of genetic material. So here is really where we understand that what we call love is a very complicated thing. We looked at the tribal stream, the individual stream of romance and passion, and now we're looking at something different. And so you can see that this homogenized word love really isn't enough to describe the complexities of all these three different streams of tribal need, support, familial bonding, individual infatuation, passion, romance, poetry, music, and here the collective desire for a new experience. This is where the Kamasutra was written. This is what has pushed humanity over and over again to look what's beyond the next valley, to taste the next thing, to try and make love in a new and different way that's never been done before. And on the last day, when the asteroid hits and the storybook of this plane finally closes its cover, there'll still be collective people pining about how they never got to do it underwater in a satellite with 7 cyborgs from South Korea. Probably have been done by then, so I don't know. Whatever. But yeah, this is an incredibly powerful drive, a fire for vision, for fantasy, to try explore the boundaries of human experience, do things that have never been done before, so you can see how it could be so useful in a visionary like Steve Jobs. And hopefully what I'm also showing you here is that all of the channels in the Bodygraph can be seen in many different contexts and layers, whether it's you as a person, the way your brain is wired up, as applied to business, as applied to relationships, and in this series to sexuality. And these two channels here, the 4130 and the 3635, are probably the most sexual channels in the Bodygraph, except for the 596, the channel of mating itself. The 41 is this pressure to experience something new, not repeat the same thing over and over and over again like the logical circuit, even if that leads you to a sense of mastery and completion and security. No, the collective abstract side here isn't interested in that. The 36 is the gate of crisis. The 41 leads you into something you've never done before, and due to the inexperience, of course, there's going to be crises. There's going to be the unexpected. You're not going to get what you thought at the beginning. And in fact, that's one of the keys to finding peace and harmony, if you've got these streams strongly in you, is to let go of expectations. To understand that when you go into these things correctly through your strategy and authority, you're not going to get exactly what you dreamed of. You're going to get something different and new, and therefore you're going to learn something. And it's really important to stay in that experience, in the body, and not go off into the mind and analyze it in the middle. Just like if you're making love upside down on a bungee rope, or you're exploring a completely new way of painting like Henri Matisse here. If things are not turning out as planned and you go out of it into your mind, you lose contact with the experience, and that can either be really dangerous, or it will just take you out of the flow, out of the new vision that's expanding for you. And understand that if you're abstract, you cannot make sense of an experience while it's happening. You have to go through the whole thing. And this is why it's so important to get into things correctly through emotional clarity, not just jumping in on the impulse of that hot, fiery desire, which is really difficult, by the way. I really sympathize with that. But instead waiting, asking yourself, is this really what I feel moving in myself to experience and expand into? Or is it something else? And the key to this circuit is focus, is learning to focus, like Henri Matisse in his cutouts and his painting, on what's essential, what you're really wanting to explore. Or when it comes to relating and sexuality, getting really clear, allowing yourself the time to enjoy that 41 just as a fantasy in your mind without having to make it into something real until it starts to focus down. Almost like, people do those vision boards, except here we're not doing it with this idea that we need to pressure life and manifest and make something happen. We're doing it with the understanding that the universe knows where we live. Life is going to bring all these experiences to us. We just have to wait and allow this pressure, these fantasies, this felt sense of all these different possibilities to start to percolate, concentrate, come down to a clear focus. Not necessarily of the actual thing, but the feeling of the thing that we want to experience. Like in Matisse's paintings in Fauvism, it's not about painting the realistic, natural colors of things. It's more about the feeling, the emotion, trying to use other colors in a way that conveys what it does to you internally. And so this is called the stream of recognition. And it's not recognizing what's outside of you, it's recognizing inside yourself, like tuning a radio into what you really want to feel next. And then you'll be able to recognize it and feel clear about it when it comes to you from life. In the not self, such as Lana Rhoades, this famous porn star, it can lead to a really chaotic and messy exploration of everything that's out there in a really self-destructive way that leads to, as she's a manifestor, well, her not self theme of anger at the porn industry and all the destructive things that she unconsciously went into. This is red, so it's unconscious in the body. She's not going to understand why she's going into these things. She said when she arrived in LA, she didn't even really realize consciously that being a porn star involved having sex. Now that sounds absolutely bizarre and doesn't make any sense until you see that this stream is an unconscious driver in her. My partner Julie has this stream, and naturally, everybody that has this, some degree of sexual exploration of a variety of different experiences is very healthy and necessary for them until they reach a recognition of what they really like in themselves. And as we always say, if you go into it through the mind, through the not self, jumping on the fire and the impulses of the emotion, it'll be chaotic and very destructive to yourself, potentially to others. And in the wave of this stream, which rises with the hope and the fantasy of a new experience, and then when the fantasy meets reality, it crashes in disappointment, and that hope becomes pain. And it's not to say that if you're correct, of course you'll experience pain, but you'll experience the right pain, not the self-destructive pain. And the not self, all you experience is the disappointment and pain of life not meeting expectations. In the true self, if you take time to go into experiences that really match up with what you feel, then you're going to let go of the expectation, and whatever happens, it's going to be a valuable and healthy experience for you. And yes, it may well lead to crisis. This 36, the gate of crisis. Of course, that's natural, but you'll be able to navigate that in a new way like no one's ever done before. And then you'll be able to share. You'll be able to share with the rest of the world here in 35, the gate of progress, what you've learned, and if they should try that too, or if it's a dumb idea and nobody should ever try to have sex that way again. The challenge in a relationship with someone who's got aspects of this stream is to keep it interesting and varied. You can't get away with doing the same thing again and again like a logical person, even if it's really good, even if it works. Here is where you find kink, lingerie, doing it on the table in different rooms of the house is a very common piece of advice we give to people with this stream. You usually find that when you're traveling, as you can see, we are here, the first time we've traveled since we had our 9-month-old baby, you'll usually have much more sex just because of the different environment, making it more new and exciting. Angelina Jolie, that's someone, look how busy she is. We talked about that. How tribal she is as well. And she's certainly not afraid of change and crisis and going into different things again and again. These are people, if you meet them, they're really hot. And the confusion that happens basically is the things that we have defined in us. Those are the frequencies we're putting out. So if you're not aware here, you're putting out a chaotic frequency of desire and chaos and crisis. And if you're living it harmoniously, correctly, slowly, in tune with the right new fantasy, new experience coming along, then you'll put out an energy of peace and progress and excitement that's really stimulating and creative to people. The 35 is a gate of boredom. These people so easily get bored, which is part of what leads them to doing crazy things in the not self. And in the true self, well, you make friends with that boredom kind of. You don't need things to be exciting all the time. You don't quit your job or your relationship or have an affair just because of a hot emotional spike. You appreciate that you can enjoy a fantasy just for itself as a fantasy, and not everything you imagine can or should be made real. The emphasis being on the fact that the imaginations, the fetishes, the scenarios that these people can come up with may not even be physically possible anyway. So yes, you make friends with that boredom and you wait until the thing that you really, really, really want to experience, that focus we talked about, either comes to you if you're a generator, projector, reflector, or if you're a manifestor. Well, once you narrow down on that felt sense and you feel the power, that Kundalini energy of desire wanting to move through you, then you step out of the way. You inform so that other people step out of your way and you initiate. And that's when something really interested and unexpected happens that you're going to learn from, other people are going to learn from. It's going to lead to progress in that 35, especially if you've got aspects of this in open centers like me, this hanging 41, this pressure for life to be exciting all the time at the expense of my health, of my energy, causing burnout. This 36 here, the gate of fucking it is, of penetration, of the fear of inexperience moving into experience. I mean, it can either hold you back from going into things because of that fear of going into something you're unprepared for, which you have to do. You have to step out of the comfort zone to get to that 35 progress. We all know that. Or it's the expectation that life always has to be exciting and full of sex, and also creating crises in your life when there is none, either in really small ways or big ways. My brother Elias just has this channel and he's a manifestor, so he has this really strong impact on everyone around him depending on how he handles it. Either he's in constant crisis and causing crises for other people, or it's a really social, wonderful, exciting and stimulating creative energy to be around. What I've noticed in my relationship, as I've got both the sacral center open, which we talked about when we went into all the specific turn-on buttons of the sacral, and I've got the solar plexus open. So when I'm in a relationship, like I have been for the last 5 years, with somebody who's very strongly and heavily defined in both those areas, they're the ones that determine the sexuality for me. And it's up to me to try and adapt to that, make myself available when they're available, which doesn't always happen. It's tricky, of course. But when it does in the right way, and it's all about timing here, what I mean is for this stream, we talked about a new experience. We talked about things having beginnings, middles, and ends. We talked about it not being like a logical person where you can just decide to have sex like it's a sport or a healthy exercise you do instead of going to the gym in the morning before work. No, here for us, I can say the best things happen when we allow that desire to build up, that fantasy, that hope, little teasing each other, building up a bit of a story. It's a stream of Kundalini, of fire. So just like building a fire, you make a little spark, you show a little bit of extra something, you tease each other, you make a small flame and you allow that to build and build. And it's obviously my partner, the person with the emotional definition, whose desire has got to build over time. And this is not fast. It's emotional definition. So it's clarity over time. It needs time, days, weeks, hopefully not weeks, but time nevertheless, the stimulation of something different, something new, either in your environment or yourself, changing up the way you look or dress, as we said, lingerie, before it reaches a point where it's ready to explode. And for me, in the hierarchy of type, manifestor, generator, projector, reflector, it's up to me to be patient and wait for her invitation. It never works if I try to initiate sex. It absolutely never does. I mean, try it and see for yourself if you're a projector in a relationship with a generator. You've got to respect that it's their sacral energy, their availability, and if they're emotionally defined, their drive, their libido. Or in the case, if you're an emotionally defined projector like John F. Kennedy here, then yeah, you'll be stimulating the desire, the libido in the other, but it's still the generator's sacred, sacral sexual energy that you're trying to access. So respect that and wait for the invitation. Here's Carl Gustav Jung. This is a very interesting stream. The emotional system, the nature of all these streams, I don't remember if we mentioned that, they carry both awareness, just like the splenic awareness of the body, the mental awareness of the mind across time, and the emotional awareness of what frequency your spirit is in. But they also carry the most powerful motor energy of any center, which has driven humanity since forever in a very uncontrolled, chaotic way. And especially now, we're getting to a stage where the next species in the evolutionary cycle, which is not us, by the way, but will come out of us, is going to emerge starting in 2027. And this species is not going to feel and be driven by that emotional energy. They're going to be able to access just the awareness of that. And there's no way that we can possibly imagine what that's like. But when we think about, say, non-speaking autistic children who telepathically can communicate and see and feel and be empathic to other people, it's through this emotional field that happens. But that's still a very, very primitive and weak thing to the power and kind of connection that these new children will have, which are going to appear completely strange and much more autistic than any kind of autism we know currently. But hey, that's a topic for another video. But what I wanted to say is, for us, this collective stream of Kundalini, desire and fire will never wake up to the awareness potential of the solar plexus. It will always drive us, like I said, up to the final day. And so very interesting to see Carl Jung with his completely open Hedon Ajna, filtering in the collective unconscious, taking in all these ideas and symbols from global culture, and exploring what drives us at the root of our unconscious impulses, taking things much further than Freud, who Yeah, I'm not a fan of at all. I mean, we are here to explore desire and new things. And Carl Jung, the way he really tried to focus in and clarify and recognize the archetypal energies that were driving us, which, as we said in our video looking at tribal sexuality, the tribe have huge issues with this collective Kundalini. In the tribe, it's a bargain, it's an exchange. I go to work, you cook, I do the dishes, then we do it on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and that's the exchange in the same position. And anything different or kinky or outside of that marital bond is absolutely forbidden and seen as sinful in tribal morality. And if there wasn't this collective stream of Kundalini desire, you could probably erase half of those commandments and moralistic things, because we just wouldn't be driven to fantasize and want to explore new things in that way. The individual circuit of pure romance, it's really about that communication and communion with the other, and not necessarily doing it in new and fantastic, exciting ways either. It's not even that much about the sex itself necessarily. So this collective Kundalini stream serves a very important purpose in our exploration of what it is to be consciousness in form, and seeing all the varied and wonderful and horrible and terrible and ugly and beautiful things that our bodies can do. As we said here in the 41 is where we mistake desire for love. And if you're very clear in yourself about what it is you're wanting from an experience, you're going to know, and you're going to be able to communicate with the other person. And as this is a manifesting channel, the 3635, inform them, although you're not expecting things to go as planned. Being clear about what your expectations and their expectations are going in. Is it personal? Do you really love them? Are you going to remember their name in 2 months' time? Or is it just for the experience because you want to do it on rollerblades in a canoe in the middle of the jungle? One of the incarnation crosses of these channels here is the cross of Eden. It's about how, well, we're born into pain and a world of a factory of suffering, as Gurdjieff said, and trying to find the pleasure, trying to find Eden back through that. And the sexual orgasm is about the closest thing that we get, just for a short moment, to that feeling of paradise. Another cross that's here is the cross of consciousness in Angelina Jolie. It's through moving through crisis and change, and recognizing that change is the only constant. That's the motto of the 35. By moving through varied experiences in the form is the way we expand our consciousness. That's why we're here, not to be hermits in some cave in the Himalayas. It's to experience life. Just seems so obvious. I mean, I've tried that spiritual path. I've tried oppressing and suppressing my sexuality and focusing on meditation and spirituality. It doesn't lead you anywhere in the expansion of your consciousness. And yet inherent in this 36 and in the 30 here is the fear of the fates, the fear that life won't meet your expectations, of going into a crisis that you can't handle. And so these people can very often, if they've experienced only the not self side of this, the pain, the disappointment, the suffering that desire brings, Buddhism, desire is the root of all suffering. Well, yes, it is potentially in the not self, but in the true self, it leads to a beautiful life full of explorations and new experiences. And yeah, surfing the waves, the winds of change. It's the greatest path of personal growth. There's a lot of wisdom in the voice of the 35. This channel is the jack of all trades, a channel of transitoriness. So the wisdom of experience, being able to advise other people, hey, I've been there, done that, not worth it, don't bother. Or yes, go for it. It's a great experience. You'll learn a lot. All right, that's all I've got time for right now. Hope you enjoyed that, these 3 parts on the sexual streams and the introductory part before that. Let me know if you have any questions at all. Oh yeah, there's another crisis in action. I wish you luck finding your clarity and the right experiences. Please remember to like, subscribe, and surrender to the collective stream of desire and Kundalini.